are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Guess who's back, people? Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk.
Well, hello, welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ. And we do have another guest here. I don't know if we should bring him in or not, but why not? What the heck?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for, and to the 6th floor, thank you for tuning in.
Oh yeah, they were on the radio today touting the new and improved website that we're going to have. And they're working on it. And they just sent the RFP outs for it.
I hope it's not part of that $20,000 they're still trying to transfer.
No. No, this is another probably $100,000.
Out of the new slogan. It's not going to be make it here. It's come here and get shot.
Yeah, especially if you're standing in front of the hospital.
Wow.
Which, by the way, if you need emergency surgery or you require an intubator, meaning, ventilator here in Fall River, odds are our hospital is going to send you to New Bedford, Providence, or Boston because our ICU beds are being occupied by opiate addicts who have all overdosed. Isn't this amazing? So if little Johnny, who needed emergency surgery for something, ends up needing a ventilator, they're going to have to transport him to Providence because odds are there won't be a bed available because Susie, heroin junkie, decided to OD again. I was on the phone with the city council last night, and we were talking about those numbers. And it's interesting to see that the rates are going higher and higher in Fall River, but the per capita rate is actually staying pretty stable. So what that means, people, is it is the same people over and over and over and over again that are overdosing. They're not learning. Darwinism has its position in life sometimes. I know a lot of you are saying, oh, well, you're heartless, you're heartless. I'm not heartless, I'm honest.
We got to stop spending money on Narcan and let them do what they want to do.
Well, if we do that, the fire department won't get a $375 stipend for giving Narcan. And neither will the police department.
Let's face it, Narcan is something that's going to, and these people are bright enough to figure out it's going to increase the use because some of them are going to overdose once or twice or 3 times in the same day. And we've already gotten reports from people out on the street, police and firefighters, that these people are getting upset because they're getting Narcan because they ruin their high. So, anybody that thinks that and they want to be able to give it to them so they can keep it around so they can have like giant parties and so anytime anybody overdoses, somebody passes the Narcan and they continue the party. So, look, again, this is government, and this opioid crisis translates into one thing: money.
Profits.
A lot of money.
Always.
And that's what's going to happen. When it's going to bring money to certain people that are well connected, it's going to go on, and they're going to continue to fund it. This is the new war against drugs. We started this war when, in the 60s and 70s,
Right.
and we haven't won it yet. And there's much money on trying to stop the Midnight Express from Turkey, as we did in 1970, and yet now we've got another crisis on our hands, which translates into what? Kick the living crap out of the taxpayer again. Let's figure out more ways we can take money out. As our state delegation wanders away from the studio this morning with their new stipends and with their final phrase, it's not a hearty hi-oh silver. It looks like the taxpayers are going to have to get an increase this year because we've got to pay the bills. Well, we also got to get $105,000 in stipends too. So,
Right, but let's remember, one of the members of our state delegation did say, fake news, fake news. I guess when I read it in the Boston Globe, it was fake news, so I don't know.
Fake news.
And I did notice
Well,
that.
yeah, the legislators have never ever given themselves a pay raise.
No, I can remember the Halloween massacre a long time ago. And you know what? This pay raise may do the same thing to them. It may do the same thing to them.
And I see that Alan Sylvia got appointed to the chairman of or vice chairman of a committee, so he got his 35 too.
Of course, of course. According to the numbers, every single Democrat in the Senate has received at least one stipend, $35,000 stipend, and they are allowed to receive up to three. Three of them would be $105,000 on top of their base salary and their per diem. So it's going to be interesting. Well, let's get right back to the upcoming news, because Monday we're not on the air, and we're not going to tape another show, although I really feel like we should. Once again, the EMS contract is coming up, and I got all the information that was being sent to the city council. Lots of it. Lots and lots of pages. Which means that half the city council won't pick it up. And then of the remainder, 2 of them will read it, and the other 2 will quickly breeze through it and say they deserve it. Because we already know that there are 4 people who, no matter what, are going to vote for it. Because, guess what? They're political whores. They are political whores, and they don't care that you, the taxpayer, are going to pay for this. Okay? They don't care. As far as they're concerned, who cares? We deserve it. We're going to get it. That's it. I've had EMS people contacting me saying, but if the enterprise funds this totally, would you be all for making us Group 4? Why is it so important for them to be Group 4? Group 4 was created for a special group of people. And the thing that really gets me is, and this is how we prove once again, that the mayor of the city of Fall River, his chief financial nitwit, and the city administrator are liars. Absolute 100% liars over and over and over again, because I even have a copy of the email and the date on the email that was sent by Mary Sahadi, which, by the way, Mary Sahadi is not using a city account. She's using a personal Gmail account to conduct city business. I wonder who's going to get a hold of that information now. But the letter, and again, I'll show you, it is a, let me make it so everyone can see it. It is a Gmail email. Okay?
Okay.
And it's from James Lamenzo from Perak, dated Monday, July 26, 2010. That was yesterday, wasn't it?
2010.
2010.
That's a history book. That's not a...
Thank you. This is a history book.
That's a history book.
And it says, Christine, I thought I had given you these numbers. John had done the work, but I hadn't reviewed it, and it was sitting in my inbox. As you requested, we have estimated the cost of moving Group 2 EMT members to Group 4. Our results are based on January 1, 2009 data.
Wow.
So not only are we going back 7, we're going back 8 years. The department code for EMTs you provided and the assumptions used in the January 1, 2009 actual evaluation report for the Fall River system. Note, the January 1, 2010 active data you provided was not readable. Imagine that. So we used the January 1, 2009 data. There are 37 active members included in our study. Some is our prior study in 2007. We estimated the cost for only the active members. To determine the cost increase, we first determine the current cost for the members. We then determine the cost if those members were in Group 4. Our results are shown in the attached exhibit. The normal cost reflects the value of benefits expected to be earned in the current year. The net city normal cost increases about $122,000. This is for 29, not 2010 even, for 2009. As of January 1, 2009, under the proposal. The actual liability reflects the sum of the past normal cost, or said another way, the projected benefit at retirement prorated for service to date. The increase is actuarially liability under this proposal is approximately $322,000 as of January 1, 2009. The increase in actuarial liability was amortized using the system's current funding schedule, 4.5% increasing amortization to 2030, which is when it's supposed to be paid off. The amortization amount is approximately $22,000 as of January 1, 2009. The sum of the increase, what?
Wait, even though those figures are in error, this is all a big smokescreen, because we start talking about amortization and
Right, exactly.
And of individuals and a small amount of people, we get away from the very, very simple and basic issue here. When you allow people to retire earlier, you are creating an unfunded liability increase forever, because the next person that replaces the people in there continue. When you move people into Group 4 from Group 2, they retire earlier. Therefore, the pension, the unfunded liability is larger because they retire earlier. And it doesn't matter whether what fund pays their retirement right now. Once they retire, it's the retirement fund that pays their checks. They get to live longer, drain that account longer, and it's gonna take longer to pay the system off. We may never pay it off. I want to say something very clearly here before you get into whether they belong in the group. The fact is that all the problems that we have with our pension system and unfunded liability is caused without any deviation by the cities and towns. They give early retirements, they underfund, they pay late. This is the reason why this system was not fully funded statewide in 2010 as it was originally designed to be. The Fall River Retirement Board has entered into an agreement that was supposed to fund this by 2035. That's going to go out the window because obviously we've increased. I'll remind our viewers, Mary Sahadi referred to the retirees as liabilities. She didn't apologize for a poor choice of words, but the apology really is irrelevant because that's what they consider liabilities. Yet, the same people, Kathy Ann Viveris, the mayor bemoaning the unfunded liability of the Niagara Neighborhood Association, Mary Sahadi calling them liabilities, they have absolutely no problem increasing the unfunded liability. This is what is problematic with the retirement system statewide. These people, when it gets in the way of what they want to do politically, hey, it's an election year. Let's give them a benefit. Let's give them a benefit that's going to live in memoriam, and a benefit that's already been told that this is one of the primary issues in Fall River, unfunded liability. Moody's, our own government. What the hell with it? Just like when the state reps gave themselves a pay raise. Hey, that's going to mean tax increases for the general public. Who gives a damn? We don't care. It's only the taxpayer. Dump more money on them. You're going to have to pay more money, people. Why? So we can get paid more. Everybody's getting a pay raise. The unfunded liability is going up. But guess what? Now nobody cares anymore about the money. We've been hearing about the money the whole time. Let's make it very, very clear that the people that are proposing this are the people that are always complaining about unfunded liabilities. And I can tell you, as a member of the retirement board, we don't have any choice in this matter. If they take this action, the retirement board has to incorporate them into Group 4. And personal opinions mean nothing. And by the way, made a clarification yesterday. If they vote on this, they will be in Group 4 as soon as that vote is taken. Because they've already gotten an opinion they can't vote for 2019, it's too far in the future. So if they don't put a date certain, and if they put a date certain, the legality of that action will be called into question. And if they just say, okay, we won't put it, that contract language is irrelevant. The statute clearly states, upon approval by the city council and the mayor, they're in group 4. So tomorrow they're going to go into group 4. But Tuesday night they'll go into group 4. And also the fact that they're prorated is not accurate either. Because the only people that are going to be prorated are the people who got on the job after April 2nd, 2012. And that doesn't even take care of half of them. So every single bit of information the city has given the city council on this is inaccurate.
And actually, some of that information came from the EMS personnel. The director or the assistant director said that I've got 5 years left. That individual's already, or 3 years left. She's already got the time in and the age. Therefore, if they accept this, she can apply for her retirement tomorrow. And the bigger problem I have is they sent out a whole bunch of propaganda when they sent this package out to the city council showing, EMTs and EMS personnel that have been assaulted. You know what? Our police officers are assaulted more than EMS personnel. Our fire department is assaulted every time they go into a fire, every time they answer an overdose call, every time they enter a building, every time they go to a traffic accident, they're assaulted. They're assaulted by the elements, they're assaulted by the chemicals. The EMS does not have that problem. And they're saying, well, sometimes we're the first ones on the scene. Yeah, well, I don't see you running into a burning building when you're the first one on the scene.
And look, and they can wait for the play, but let's make something perfectly clear while we're talking about this, because I was around when they created these things, when we got the cancer bill and the heart law and the lung law and with group 4, I understand, I was around and I understood why group 4 was created. The only people that are automatically in group 4 are fire, police, and corrections. And the reason group 4 was created and a 55-year-old age limit you could retire at 55 was because, it's hard to visualize a 62-year-old police officer chasing down a 20-year-old perp or a 62-year-old firefighter dragging a hose up a 3-decker and a corrections officer wrestling 2 felons. But that's not the major issue. The major issue is extremely simple. There was recently a prison riot. While that riot was going on, they were evacuating surrounding buildings. They were checking about the security in the neighborhood, while the corrections guards were going into a prison where there was a riot going on. Everybody else was being evacuated. When there's a school shooting, or a bank robbery, or an incident of road rage, or whatever, or a domestic dispute, they evacuate everybody in the area, move them off to safety, and police officers go into those buildings. When there's a fire or a hazardous materials incident, they evacuate a mile. But firefighters run into those buildings. Those 3 occupations do not have a choice. Those 3 occupations are inherently the most dangerous occupations in the United States of America and in the entire world. The fact is, firefighters don't have a choice. If you don't go in, you're out of a job.
And the building's gone.
Police officers don't do their job. You got to remember, EMS, it looks dicey. They can park on a street, wait for the police to get there. If the fire's going, they're not going in because they'll become another victim. Not saying anything, it's just a fact of life. Because if you want to say, sometimes they might have to go into a building and they might get attacked, well, so can the plumbing inspector, the building inspector, public health nurse, gas meter reader, water meter reader. Let's face it, anybody that walks into a 3-decker in Fall River in the wrong neighborhood
Oh, yeah.
has got a chance of having an issue. And is that a good thing? No. It's not.
It is a fact
But it
of life.
also doesn't give you the right to say, because I may be in a situation occasionally that I'm going to be put in a group that was expressly created for people who have to go in, who have to run in to a place where everybody else is running away from. And I know the difference. I worked on the ambulance. I was one of the first firefighters ever to ride on an ambulance in Fall River. I didn't do it for a very long time because I became a lieutenant shortly thereafter, and I didn't ride on the ambulance, but I did CPR on every landing coming down a 3-decker. I carried people that were on the verge of a diabetic coma down 3-decker stairs and brought them to the hospital. But I could wait for, I could, if it looked bad, I could have always said, well, I'm not going to go in. I probably would have, because I'm a firefighter. But the fact is, I also worked as a firefighter. And I also went into buildings, that everybody was getting 2 blocks away from. So, this has become, there are other people in Group 4, they allow that opportunity, but let's face it, does New Bedford do it? No. The majority of communities in Massachusetts do it? Absolutely not. And most of those assaults that they're producing are from other states, and they're talking about people in other states. We're not talking about other states. We're talking about Group 4 in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Group 4 was created for 3 and only 3 occupations. Are there other people in? Yeah. Why? Politics. And this is what really disturbs me, and this is why I do this show now. Because what really disturbs me is the people who complain about the retirement system, the people who complain about it being such a liability, are the people who have single-handedly destroyed it. City councils that put people in Group 4 that don't belong in Group 4, then turn around and go, oh me, oh my, our unfunded liability. Mayors that complain about the city's got no money and then gives everybody a pay raise in an election year. And then will propose this kind of stuff. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You want to put everybody in Group 4? Go ahead. Put them all in, Mr. Mayor. I'm on the board. Will I agree with that action? No. I am a fiduciary for that action. I'm trying to keep a pension system so these young men on the job will have a retirement system left. But if you want to bankrupt it, be my guest. We'll be bound by law to do whatever you want us to do. And whatever you want to do, I will be bound to do it. And the only good news is I'll be dead before you manage to bankrupt the system. But these people who are getting on a job now in the next 4 or 5 years, they may never have a retirement system, or they'll have a retirement system with their benefits so severely damaged because of politicians. It's not going to look like anything the way it is right now. So I went on my rant. This irritates me to no end because this is purely a political move. And, if they deserve it and you agree with them, it's my personal opinion. As a retirement board member, I'm going to do what I'm bound by the law to do. If they approve this, we will vote for it because we don't have any choice. But my personal opinion, there should be nobody, not assistant DAs. There should be nobody in Group 4 that isn't a police officer, a firefighter, or a corrections officer.
Well, I hear you, Chip. And the problem that I'm having here is, like you said, if this was such a good thing, why isn't every city or town in the Commonwealth doing it? This is why. All right? And another question that came up that I had heard, not only from a few city councilors, but also from other people throughout the city, Do they deserve it? Do they meet the criteria to deserve a Group 4 status? And you know, I have to, you know, looking at the criteria, yes. Are they potentially subject to injury? Yes. But if the potential for injury is how we decide if you qualify, then everybody qualifies. There's more to it than that. But you know, while we're talking about contracts, I have a copy of Local 1314's contract. And
Oh, God.
yeah.
Well, let me just say one thing, CJ, before you get on. What you just said. If they truly did experience the same hazards,
Yep.
I think, and therein lies the proof of the pudding. Even if you put these people in Group 4, they are not eligible for the heart, the lung, or the cancer bills.
Right.
Because the reason that group was created was buttressed by the passage of those laws. They did studies and proved that firefighters, police officers, corrections guards get heart disease at more than 2.5 times the rate of the average population, and they get cancer at more than 3 times the rate of the average population, and lung disease. So the fact is, by the mere fact that they allowed this ability to put other people in was a political maneuver.
Of
because
course.
the fact is, even if you put them in Group 4, there's no paramedic going off on a heart bill.
No,
There's
exactly.
no paramedic going off on a lung bill, and there's no paramedic going off on a cancer bill. Because those are expressly exclusive of the people for whom Group 4 was created. And you know, Jason Burns, and I know once in a while he might watch the show, and I'm going to tell him something that I know he doesn't know. Your grandfather went to Boston with me when I was the president of the local to lobby for the cancer bill, to get the heart bill pushed through. And we did that for the firefighters because of the fact that we do have a profession that puts us in harm's way every single day, not occasionally. And it also gives us certain diseases at a much higher rate. And your grandfather stood behind me up there, and I'll tell you one thing, if you could speak to him now, he would tell you who belongs in Group 4.
I hear
That's
that,
all I
Chip.
got to say.
Yeah, I hear that, Chip. Because we only got 2 minutes, not even 2 minutes. We got a minute left on the show, and I have to go over this contract real fast. Number one, Mr. Mayor, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why. This contract accepts the provisions of the previous contract with additions. That's okay. That's common practice, right, Chip? That's pretty much common practice. Except for one thing, Mr. Mayor. The addition is that you pay for the PPE. You pay for the turnout gear. But that is included in their clothing allowance. Did you remove their clothing allowance for PPE?
No.
No. So what do? We double dip. So the city's going to pay for it twice. The firefighters get to include it in their base salary reported to the retirement board in violation of state law, in violation of PAIR Act regulations, okay? And we pay for the equipment. This is not how it's supposed to work, Mr. Mayor. This is not how it's supposed to work. We're watching, and
But
you know
that's
what?
votes.
Right, exactly, that's votes. I'm not going to say that the fire department does not deserve every dime they get. And Jason, you did a good job on negotiating because he didn't pick up on it because he's an idiot. But you know what? We got to stop pissing away money.
Well, kudos to him. That's what he's supposed to do later. I understand that. But that's another issue for another show.
Yeah, that show will be on after the city council blindly approves this contract. We won't see you on Monday. It's President's Day. Have a happy President's Day. Enjoy your day off if you get one. And remember, stay angry.
Come back
Bye.
Wednesday. We'll be back.
We'll be back.